get us going. Hey guys, welcome to Wholesale Hotline. We are on the warm-up show. This is Wholesale Hotline number 41. Your other guys, Brent Daniels and Jamil Damji, will be in here in about 30 minutes. But this is the warm-up show. This is where we highlight newer, aspiring investors, people that are out there getting their first deal or, maybe their first couple of deals. And we want to highlight them, talking about where they figured out real estate, what their journey has been so far, what they wish they knew before they started. And today on the show, we've got Justice Sotto out of Florida. Justice is going to talk through his journey. Justice, what is your Instagram name, just so people can follow you today?
It is Justice Knocks Doors, and that's how I got my deals. I believe that's the best and fastest way to get your first deal. And I basically post stuff on there helping people figure out exactly what to say, different things I run into on the doors. And yeah, that's my Instagram handle. Glad to be here.
So guys, Justice Sotto, you guys can see his name on the screen, Justice Knocks Doors. Go check him out on Instagram. Go tag him. Take a photo and give him some congrats. Guy's a super cool guy. Justice, introduce yourself to the audience. What market do you live in, and what market are you investing in?
Yeah, so I'm here in Orlando, Florida. I'm investing in Orlando, Florida, right in my backyard, and I've been here for about 14 years. Excited that it's finally cooling down. I was telling you a little bit about that in the pre-show, but wintertime is finally here. It's cooling down a lot. Florida's a great market, great place to be if you like beaches. Not so great if you like mosquitoes, but
bro, the first time I ever went to Orlando was like midsummer, and I said, why would anybody live in Florida? It's absolutely horrible. And then I went back in December, and I was like, wow, why does anybody live anywhere else? Like this place is so magical. So you are in Orlando. How long have you been in this game? How long have you known about wholesaling real estate?
I got introduced to real estate and wholesaling real estate, not necessarily in terms of houses. I started off with land, and I took a course in order to learn how to flip land and wholesale land, and that's kind of how I got my start in real estate. That was about a year ago.
Nice.
That being said, I didn't have much money, and the main source of marketing was direct mail. I spent a lot of money on direct mail.
Damn, bro.
Yeah,
wholesale. The average cost per contract. So the most important KPI in our business that we track is cost per contract. So if I go spend $5,000 in advertising, $2,000 in office, rent and utilities, and $3,000 in VAs or whatever, my total expense to be in business is 10 grand a month, and I get 3 contracts. That means my cost per contract is $3,333. So cost per contract is the most expensive on direct mail. It's the national average is $6,000 to $7,000 per contract. And we're going to jump into driving for dollars and knocking doors, which the average cost per contract in that realm is under $500 when you take your gas and your subscriptions and some skip tracing and stuff like that into consideration. It is the cheapest way to get started. So, Justice, you started out by doing direct mail about a year ago, and it obviously probably tapped you out on cash, right?
It tapped me out on cash. I didn't have much. I had graduated high school the year before, and I didn't have much in savings. I was a pool boy. I worked cleaning pools, doing maintenance. That's how I kind of got some money saved up. But it's funny that you mentioned that cost per contract because, comparatively, direct mail to door knocking, I got 3 contracts by spending less than $150 just door knocking.
Yeah.
Between gas, skip tracing, the subscription, I spent $150, so that's $50 a contract.
Wow.
compared to $7,000,
Guys, so Justice, are you using batch driven?
I am, in order to kind of keep track of what doors I've knocked and what they've said at the door.
So what do you, on batch driven, which is the app you're using, what do you feel like you wish it had in terms of features?
Yeah, I think the batch driven team has actually been really good. I requested a couple things and they've put it in there. But the one thing that I think that would probably be most beneficial is having a custom pin, because there's like a couple different categories you can put leads in. There's hot, not interested, dead deal, and having a custom
Dude, I was sitting
pin.
in the meeting like 6 months ago. I don't know if
Hmm.
you know, I'm one of the owners of Batch Driven.
Okay.
So I'm sitting in the meeting like 6 months ago, and we run a door knocking team. Which this
Hmm.
show's not about me, so who gives a crap? But I'm sitting in there in the meeting. I'm talking to the partners. I go, guys, we need a pin that you can change the pin to whatever you want,
Hmm.
depending on how you feel that day, right?
Hmm.
So what did the team say when you gave them that feedback?
I haven't put it in. They have a page to request features, and I put a couple things on there, but I've basically been using the dead deal, because the only reason why I wanted that customizable pin is because when you go and knock a door, sometimes they don't answer. So there's only that one category you can put as currently marketing, and I wanted to have a category for, follow up, not didn't answer, have different pins that I know, I knocked this door, but I haven't talked to the person yet. We're marketing, but I have to follow up with them, and just kind of distinguish it a little bit more.
Love it.
But yeah.
So, all right. So you let's stay on the timeline. Everybody that watches me knows I'll sidetrack real quick.
Mhm.
So you go pay for coaching. I'm sure you learned a lot, which is great.
Mhm.
But it was about direct mail, which is how most of these old school land flippers, that's how they
Mhm.
still to this day are going out and getting deals. That, like sending out direct mail works. It's just
Mhm.
really expensive. And for a
Mhm.
new investor that hasn't gotten a deal yet, I feel like anybody that tells you to go out and do direct mail when you're first starting is like completely bursting your momentum, right? So
Mhm.
you go out, maybe you lose a little bit of momentum in terms of like, man, this like direct mail is really expensive. When did you figure out about door knocking and tell me about your first deal?
Well, my first deal actually closed about 2 weeks ago. So
Oh, damn.
yeah,
So
very, very
how much
recent.
money did you make on that first deal?
It was $12,000 assignment, but I split it 50-50, but it's
Bro,
still a solid check. It's more money than I've made.
this is what I always tell people. I tell people, whatever your assignment fee on your first deal is, add $1 million to it, because that's how it feels to like have proof of concept.
Hmm.
To know that like a year ago when you took your training and your coaching, like you probably went through a moment where you're like, oh man, is this going to happen for me? Is this going to happen for me? Like we all do as humans. And
Hmm.
then now it's like, boom, $12,000 comes across. That feels like $1 million.
Hmm.
So
It was awesome.
you split the deal with somebody that helped you dispo it, or what?
Yeah, I split the deal with somebody who found a buyer, and
Guys, give this guy some love. We've got 150 people watching live right now. Normally, Wholesale Hotline has about 400 people watching live between all of our broadcasts, but this is the warm-up show. Not a lot of people know
hmm.
we're doing this yet.
Hmm.
Give this guy some love, and if you're watching this after the fact, because Justice, just so you know, this portion,
Hmm.
the warm-up show, will actually go onto the batch skip tracing and batch driven YouTube, and then we are giving the people that are on the warm-up show, we're giving them a specific batch driven care package. So you'll get a care package. But guys, follow Justice. He's an amazing dude. So you get your first deal. Tell us,
Hmm.
how did you find the lead? How did you close the seller? What was the situation? Like, give me that story.
Yeah, so this one was actually really interesting, and something I didn't mention is in between the time that I started land flipping, I did that for about 3 months, and now I have only been knocking on my own for about 2 months. I worked as an acquisitions person for a company here in Orlando. So I had some experience communicating with sellers. And to answer your question, to go back to where the lead came from, it was a pre-foreclosure. The seller showed up as a pre-foreclosure on batch driven. I pulled all the data and the zip code I was targeting, and I went and I knocked on the door. He originally told me he was not interested in hearing any options for his house. He was wanted me to, go away. And you know, here's a tidbit: if you guys are getting into door knocking and you're part of the batch driven Facebook group, pay attention to the lives Matt Beard does. That guy knows a lot about door knocking, and I was in one of his lives and I asked him about it. I was kind of running through him, like kind of all the steps that I was doing through those YouTube lives that he does. And he's like, oh, make sure you follow up because things change, So I gave him a cold call about 2 weeks later, and he's like, yeah, I think I want to sell. And he gave me a number. He was very, very hard D personality, driver, just wanted to get right down to it. And it made my job a lot really difficult because I couldn't get the information I needed out of him. He like kind of played this like super bravado personality, like super busy all the time, not really too interested in hearing anything I had to say. But long story short, I get in contact with him. I get the number. The number is a number that I think works. And he ghosts me for 2-3 weeks, and I'm calling him every single day, trying to get in touch with this guy. And one of the biggest lessons I learned, and one of the biggest takeaways I had from the experience, is you have to be persistent, you have to be relentless, and you have to really follow up with these people over and over and over again, because they're kind of teetering on the fence when it comes to different options, and you have to be in front of them all the time. So I called him, 6 times a day sometimes, 2 in the morning, double dial, 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the evening. And it made sound a little bit excessive, but I really wanted to get in touch with this guy. And it's not like I was trying to pressure him. I just wanted to talk to him because I don't want to have no communication. So I finally got in touch with him. We go back and forth. I get more information. Then we try to set up a time to go out to the property. He goes to me again, still following up with him, even more brutal, going out to the house, leaving sticky notes on his door, knocking on his door all over the place. I end up talking to his neighbor and getting in touch to his neighbor, and his neighbor reached out to him. And like at that point, he finally calls me back.
Yes.
He finally calls me back.
I love this, dude.
And we set up a meeting, go out to the house, we go through everything. I talked to him a little bit more about his situation, still super proud, bravado, like nothing's going on. He actually never told me he was in foreclosure.
Of
He
course.
never once mentioned it.
Yeah.
And you can look on public record, you can see he's in foreclosure, but he's like, oh, I mean, I kind of want to sell, like if I got the right price though, like I'm not really going to sell if I don't have the right price. And I kind of followed up with him, kind of pulled away, like, okay, I mean, I don't know if I'm your buyer then if you're not really ready to sell. And he's kind of pulling back towards me. He's like, okay, well, I mean, what do you think you can offer me? So I knew there's something there. Long story short, I end up going to the property, walking through it, and getting him to sign. He actually negotiates me up from his original price to 123 because he's like, you've been calling me, you really want this house, it must be, he's like, and I, me being green, I'm like, dude, I'll take 12 grand instead of 20 grand, like whatever, let's sign the contract. We got it done for 123.5, and we found a buyer for 140.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, first off, Justin, congrats. I want to unpack a couple things though, okay? Number one, why do you need to be persistent? Guys, you have to understand that these sellers have 20, 30 other people calling them. The person who ultimately gets the deal is the one that's frequently top of mind. And then the person who gets the deal is also the one that's willing to do what Justice did, which is either A, go knock on the door, B, show up at their place of work, or C, which is so cool, I have not heard this in a long time, get a hold of the neighbor and just say, hey, like I'm a friend, I'm trying to get a hold of this guy. Obviously you're not saying, hey, your neighbor's in foreclosure and I want to buy the house.
Right. Yeah, don't say that.
But you've got to be inventive and creative, which is what Justice did, especially like you showed the universe, in my mind, dude, like you showed the universe you're ready to get your first deal. Now you've got 2 other deals beyond that, but knocking doors and going after pre-foreclosures obviously works. And what do you think is going to be amazing about 2021 when all these foreclosures start happening? Like,
oh man, yep, that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get it all figured out now, so we're ready. Luck is opportunity plus preparation, right? Just preparing right now.
Love it. So guys, give this good man some love. So Jamari, good to see you, brother. He's an Atlanta guy. He's awesome. If you guys don't know Jamari, follow him on TikTok. He's a solid guy. But Justice, we had somebody ask a question. I wanted to make sure we were very clear on the answer here. I'm going to let you answer this question. She asked a question about 10 minutes ago. And she says, I'm looking for it right now, but she said, is anybody knocking doors right now during COVID?
That's a good question.
Tell me about that. Are you got, here it is right here. Alexandra asked, does anyone knock doors in this pandemic? What's your answer to that?
I do. I think a lot of people do. I worked for a door-to-door company. They knocked doors when the pandemic was happening. A lot of people don't really mind. They'll have a conversation with you. If you're going into the house and having an appointment, at least what I do is I ask them, I'm like, hey, I know there's a pandemic. Are you a mask on or a mask off type of person? And let them answer, and most people have no problem. I've had some people tell me that, yeah, I wear a mask. Some people tell me no, it's completely fine. Most tell me no. But in terms of just knocking the door, a little tidbit also, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the pandemic. They talk about social distancing 6 feet apart, but something that if you guys are going out to knock door to keep in mind is when you knock on the door, you want to step back probably around 6, 7 feet. So the person opening the door doesn't feel threatened, like you're right in front of them. And it creates a much better and easier environment to have a conversation. And there's built-in space there, so no one's worried about the pandemic. So to answer your question, yeah, definitely people are knocking doors and.
Yeah, so my brother is the head of accounting for Vivint, which is a pretty big door knocking company, right?
That's who I worked for.
Sweet. So my brother wrote your checks. He was the guy that was in the payroll department, wrote all the checks. So I reached out to him like 2 months after the pandemic, and I go, "Are you guys knocking doors?" And I think they took the guys off the door knocking for like 60 days, and then they were like, "Wait, what are we doing?" And then they went back nationwide in June. They've been nationwide full door knocking, just as if there is no pandemic, and they're one of the largest door knocking companies in the country.
Yep, absolutely.
But what we're calling not pest control, alarm systems, right?
Yep, like smart homes and alarm systems. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's see. Got a couple questions. S.L. Townsend says, greetings. I used batch skip tracing today and had an issue with BST exporting the file into Excel spreadsheet. The tech team got involved, sent me an Excel spreadsheet. Who can I contact? I would contact Landry. Do you ever talk to Landry over at Batch?
Yeah, she's awesome.
So I would go into Townsend. I would go into Batch Driven's Facebook group, tag Landry Morby. She's actually my sister. I had a seller that walked in or saw one of our lives, and she saw my sister doing a live, and she was like, "Wow, your wife is so beautiful." I'm like, "That's my sister." But that's all right. But Jamari does a lot of door knocking. We do a lot of door knocking, and then Justice, you talked about Matt Beard going live. Tell everybody what that's all about. I saw a couple questions about that.
Yeah, I mean, he does a couple things. The original thing he was doing was just kind of going live, answering questions in regards to door knocking and people using Batch Driven. Now with the 990 challenge, they go live as well to kind of do some of the calls with the sellers live on YouTube while you guys can ask questions. He also does a live with VAs, and has a wealth of knowledge, when it comes to door knocking. Me and him are actually talking right now about doing something here in Orlando. So I think he's been trying to get in touch with you, but you've been running around doing that as well. So
yeah, him and I've been busy. Matt and Cody had a partnership meeting. I'm in a partnership. We own 3 businesses together. They had a partnership meeting the other day, and I wasn't able to head over there, but we do want to do some stuff in Orlando. It'd be cool to work with you. Here's an interesting one. Bullish T says, what does calling the seller every day indicate? I don't want to seem annoying and basically push me away. Why would you call a seller so much, Justice? What does that actually accomplish?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. And it's something that I dealt with for a long time. And I used to think that if I called the seller too much, they wouldn't want to do business with me because, I was pestering them. I was too pushy, all these things, your brain tells yourself. And what I kind of realized is you lose more deals by not being aggressive in the follow-up than you do by being more passive in the follow-up and trying to not be pushy and follow up with people aggressively. So what I think it indicates, I think it indicates that you're serious. I think it indicates that you want to help this person. And the one caveat I would say is definitely if a seller is telling you, follow up with me in 2 weeks, I've got to do a couple things. I always like to cut that time in half, but in that situation, I wouldn't call them every single day. The reason why I was so persistent and so relentless with my calling on this individual is because he ghosted me. So we talked, he was interested in selling, he gave me a number, he wanted to move forward, but then he goes dark. So I have an easy, couple words I can say if I get on the phone with him. He's like, "Hey man, why are you calling me so much? I thought you were interested in selling. We talked about it. What's changed?" And then you can just kind of actually communicate with the seller instead of being left in the dark. So if you have communication with the seller, definitely respect their timeline, and I would still cut it in half and try to follow up with them a little bit more, but don't call them 6 times a day if they tell you to call them in a week.
Yeah, so love all of that. I would add a couple of things is that I'm very honest and abrupt with sellers. And I just have a finesse about me. And I know like Justice and Jamari and Matt, we all have a finesse because we've been doing this and we know how to talk to people, right? So the finesse I'm talking about is if a seller's like, dude, why are you calling me every day? My answer is, look, I know you have 15 other potential investors calling you as well. That's the name of this game. And I want you to know that I'm the most reliable person to work with. That's why I'm calling you every single day.
Mm.
And whether you want me to call you or not, I want you to know how reliable I am. So when you tell me I'm going to call you in a week, you say, call me in a week, I'm going to call you in 6 days. So when do you want me to follow up? Because I'm going to follow up a day early. And I just flat out call a spade a spade. And I tell people, look, and I've had sellers say, dude, I'll follow up with you. And I go, look, I'm a salesperson. I'll flat out just say I'm a salesperson. So I'll say, I'm a salesperson. You following up with me is not going to work. I have an itch, a desire to follow up with you. I'm going to follow up with you. And just calling a spade sometimes just disarms sellers, and they'll go, okay, yeah, you are right. I am talking to 10 other people. That's another reason why people ghost you. It's probably 9 times out of 10 people are ghosting you is because they're fishing information from other people. And then the other 10% of the time, they truly are waiting for a life event to happen before they actually answer your phone call. They know why you're calling, and they do see your call every single time. I mean, has there ever been a point in our lives in the last couple of years, Justice, that I didn't know somebody called me? It's not like you go 2 weeks without knowing somebody called you 18,000 times, right?
Right.
So I would 100% take that into consideration. People are so trepid and so hesitant when calling sellers. Guys, the reality is these sellers need you. Justice, did this guy not need you to solve this problem?
He was going back and forth for so long, and he didn't want to accept that he had a problem. And eventually he just came to the point where I gotta move on. He got a nice place in North Carolina. He had a roommate that was not, they weren't getting along, and he just is like, I'm ready to go,
What's interesting, so check this out. Jamari's point. Jamari's another door knocking warrior, great guy. So Justice, when you go and you walk into these people's appointments, have you ever seen the direct mail letters and postcards sitting on their counters and their desks and all that kind of stuff?
I'm sure they have them. I haven't seen them. What I see a lot of is letters from the bank, letters from attorneys, letters from, although they have not just from investors, but piles of a bunch of different things going
That's what
on
I'm
in their
saying
house.
is that these people, this is why door knocking and driving for dollars is so successful, is because there's a big group of these people that just simply don't pick up the phone. They simply don't answer text messages, especially people in foreclosure. Because the people in foreclosure, Justice, like you experienced with your first deal, I know you've got 3 deals, but your first deal, the guy was like an ostrich with his head in the sand, hiding from his problems. And so people that are hiding from their problems, guess what they're going to do? They're going to answer their door more likely than they will ever answer direct mail, a phone call, or a text message. So leaving notes on people's houses, knocking doors is going to be, honestly, especially as the carriers crank down. This is why I think Batch Driven is going to be one of the most used apps in 2021. I mean, have you gotten all 3 of your deals using Batch Driven?
All 3 of my deals, yeah, all 3.
All 3 of your deals you've gotten from Batch Driven. What are you going to make on those 3 deals?
One, they're both probate situations. We've already locked in a buyer with one of them for $15K assignment, and the other one we just put out. It might be a smaller deal, but it depends. 12 to 17.
Love it. So let's say you make 12 on that one, 15 on the second one, and 12 on the first one. Combined, you guys have made basically $40,000, and you'll get half of that. You'll make 20 grand on 3 deals.
It's incredible, man.
Because you partnered with somebody else that had a good buyer's list. Like, dude, talk about freaking squatting up.
Oh yeah, it's an astro flipping student as well.
Gee.
Whoa. Throw that out there, you know.
I gotta let Jamil know. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm squatting up with some of your students as well to work some leads that don't have much equity, and we're helping some sellers. Close a sub 2 deal. I locked it up last week also. So working with one of your students, they're helping me get that one closed as well. So
who's the student?
Yeah. Alex Hewitt.
Freaking love Alex.
Dude, he's awesome, man.
Oh my gosh, bro. You are living the freaking letter of the law. Like, you are going out, taking action. You're squatting up with people who have buyers lists, Astro Flip students. You're squatting up with sub 2 students that know how to do creative finance. And you're freaking, dude, I'm so impressed by you.
You guys lay it out all right here. It's all free. You just got to actually do it.
It is amazing to me how many people. So Jamil and I just had dinner, right? We're in Atlanta. You guys can see I'm in my hotel room. And we just had dinner. We were talking about how hard it is to actually hire employees for our own businesses, right? So I did a post the other day talking about how I have 14 streams of income and I'm growing it to 20 streams of income. So you can imagine I have employees and I have people on my teams. So I tell Brittany, she's our executive assistant, I go, hey, Brittany, I need you to hire these 3 positions. And it is like every day she says, people don't show up to interviews. People don't show up to interviews. People don't show up to interviews.
Wow.
People do not want to work. Like, that's all this comes down to. People do not want to work. And every time, the common thread between every one of these people on the show, Justice, Jamari, and other people, is that you are taking freaking action, like imperfect, amazing action.
Yeah.
Right. So what are you doing? What are you doing today? Like, in your business, what's your main focus?
Yeah, that's a good question. I want to say something really quick in regards to imperfect action, because I think it's kind of a funny story. So that check that I got for $6,000 from the title company at closing 2 weeks ago is still sitting in my car, because when I originally set up my LLC, I was taking imperfect action and I set it up incorrectly. I did not list myself as a managing member of my own LLC, so I can't cash my own check.
Yes,
I have to amend it in order to cash my check. So I'm waiting for that. But that just goes.
Hey, that's Brent Daniels.
Oh shoot,
Brent Daniels. This is Justice Sotto. He's in the Orlando market. He has 3 deals he's gotten from Batch Driven, Driving for Dollars, Knocking Doors, and he's combined made $39,000 on his first 3 deals. Brent
muted.
Brent, you gotta unmute yourself, bro.
You gotta.
I tried to unmute you. There you are.
Let's try that one more time. Justice. Good. How much? 37?
$39,000 on 3 deals.
That's crazy. I've listened to so many of those through the Wholesaling Inc. podcast in my car, driving a doors to knock.
That is incredible, brother. I mean, so exciting. That is, I mean, now you know, right? Now it's real. Now you're feeling it. Now you're getting that income coming in. You're getting that confidence. You're building up that certainty. I mean, you are just you're on a rocket ship, brother. I'm so excited for you. So excited. So are these your first 3 deals?
Yeah, these are his first 3 deals. He started out a year ago. He took a course on flipping land, doing direct mail, really challenging. And then he ran into basically, he's just been squatting up, dude. Like, he's the epitome of squatting up. He's working with Astro students, sub 2 students. He's listening to Wholesaling Inc. podcast. He's taking action from everything we talk about on Wholesale Hotline. And boom, here he is, freaking getting. Bro, you just had the biggest guns in wholesale ring a bell for you, dog.
I know, that's crazy, man. What are those, like 22 inches? Those are crazy.
Maybe 24, dude.
That is incredible. So just to recap, so you've got the app. It's telling you where to go. You're going out. You're door knocking these deals.
door knocking. It's telling me what
Brother.
houses are in pre-foreclosure. I'm driving to each one. As I go to
Yep.
each one,
Yep.
creating a list of driving for dollar properties, as I'm driving to each one, cold call those, TTP,
That's
but
it.
also knock the ones that don't pick up. I
Yeah.
got one of my deals from driving for dollars. The other two were pre-foreclosure. So
Listen, every week we get on here and we say, listen, there's ugly houses on the streets. Go
Mhm.
and talk to the owners, right? Here you go. Here you go. Here's proof positive. Justice is here. This is not, a paid advertisement for whatever. I don't even know what he would be advertising, but he's on here and he's crushing it and he's doing deals from just literally going out into the streets and, like Pace was saying before I hopped on here, taking the action. And I really think, it's something special, Justice, that you're out there and you're doing that. And, thinking that, people aren't going out there. They're taking the information. They're keeping it as education. They're not using it as a game plan or a blueprint, but you're literally going out and you're using it as the blueprint. I mean, it's that same quote, everything you want is in somebody else's brain. Just ask questions and then go pull out the instruction that they give you and use it. So, dude, I'm pumped. That's exciting. That's exciting. And it's just the start. And it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And then all of a sudden your family's going to want to know what you're doing and your friends. And all of a sudden you're the example of being out there and being really proactive. And you got to change a lot of lives that way.
Hey, Justin,
Yeah.
Real quick, because we've only got you for a couple minutes and we're going to have Jamil come on here. I want to tell Jamil about how your first deal was dispoed by an Astro student. But I want to address what's on the screen right now. So Leroy, he says, man, I got to squat up. So when we first started this podcast, okay, Brent, Jamil, and myself were sitting in a room and we were talking about, like, what do we want to accomplish with this podcast, right? What's the mission? What's the goal? And it was basically to unite the wholesale industry and how everybody should be working with each other. And so we came up with the phrase squat up. That's why you guys hear it all the time in wholesale. Like, I got to squat up. I got to squat up. What advice, like, how did you squat up with a sub 2 student? How did you squat up with an Astro student? How did you figure out about Wholesaling Inc? Give the people some advice on how to squat up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the most important thing for me so far is meeting other people who are doing this business and who are investing in themselves and taking action and getting education. I would say the way that I met the different students, meetups are huge, your local meetups. Facebook is huge. It's absolutely incredible. Hi, Jamil.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I met Jamil's student and one of the Astro students at the meetup that they did here in Florida, Pace and Jamil Tour America. I met the sub 2 students through Facebook, and Wholesaling Inc. you just know about because everybody knows about Wholesaling Inc. Who's in the business. And I just listened to the podcast.
Jamil doesn't know this, but Justice got his first deal using batch driven. So guys, if you are looking to drive for dollars, you're looking to knock doors, Justice got his first deal going that route. Batchdriven.com. Use the code SQUAD UP. You'll get 50 extra skip traces. But Jamil, you didn't know this part. Justice dispoed his first deal through who?
An Astro flipping student.
Woo!
Yep. Shout out Hamlet. It was about Hamlet. Shout out Hamlet.
Man, I love Hamlet. That's my dog, bro. He's the best.
No, he's awesome.
My name is Hamlet. That's a dope name.
You met Hamlet before, Pace.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you met him in Orlando. Amazing guy.
So
that's where we met.
We've run out of time, my brother. This was the warm-up show, Wholesale Hotline number 41. Tell everybody how to find you, how to tag up. Like, you've got basically 250 people watching live right now. How can people reach out and squad up with you? Is Instagram the best place to go?
Instagram, Justice Knocks Doors. Text me. I'll give you guys my phone number, 407-300-7980. If you guys are here and if you guys are...
Hey, say it again. People didn't have their pen and paper fast enough.
407-30-80. and text me if you guys are kind of new to real estate or if you've already done some deals. I'd love to connect with you. I'm actually looking to build a door knocking team here and kind of teach you exactly what I do and how to find deals. So if you're in the Orlando area and you want to make some money in real estate, hit me up.
Bro, we appreciate you. Thank you for being part of the warm-up show. We are going to get started on Wholesale Hotline number 41 here. Have a great night, brother.
Dude,
Awesome
thanks so much
work,
for having me,
Justice.
man.
Amazing work. Keep it up, brother. Keep it going. Momentum, momentum, momentum.
I love it.
Great
Thank
job,
you guys
bro.
so much, man.
Later, brother. All right, guys. How cool is that?
Amazing.
It's incredible.
I mean,
It's incredible.
does it show you how awesome the hard work we're putting into these Monday nights is like paying off? Like, isn't it interesting that somebody made $39,000 by watching us talk about real estate, and then they went out, took action, and now they're like, he's got a $6,000 check sitting on his front seat he hasn't even cashed yet. That's because of hard work we're putting into it. It's just freaking awesome. I'm just so happy to be part of this.
Well, if only there was a business where you could start with not a lot of money, but you can use your efforts and your talents and your ability to communicate. And then if there was only a show every Monday night with three of the strongest and most angular and most exciting and that had authentic enthusiasm to come to support and love you, and in a place where you could squat up and meet incredible people. I mean, wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't it be incredible if they did it 41 times? Show 41, guys. Show
Real.
41.
Right, I'm gonna play our intro for the podcast, and then Brent, you're gonna get us launched for Wholesale Hotline number 41.
Wholesale Hotline number 41. I am one of the three-headed monsters here. I am Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I will be talking about lead generation on today's episode. And to the next to me here is Mr. Conversion himself, Pace Morby. He takes a lead and he massages it and he moves it and he sprinkles it with his experience, and all of a sudden, boom, a deal is made. And then down below here, the one, the only, the famous around the country, from East Coast to West Coast, from North to South. He travels everywhere. He brings his smile. He brings hugs. He brings hats that have rocket ships on top of them. I'd like to introduce, talking about disposition, the third part of a wholesaling business, Mr. Jamil Damji. We are here, guys. We're live 41 times. Incredible.
Love it. You know what? I want to start with something real quick, Brent, and maybe you've got some quotes and maybe some other things to talk about, but we just had Wholesale Hotline's warm-up show with Justice Sotto out of Orlando, talking about how he got his first 3 deals, driving for dollars, knocking, and all that kind of stuff. So if you didn't see it, go back and watch it. But Claudio, which is another amazing person, follows the show, has a lot of amazing questions. Jamil, do you mind answering this question for Claudio?
Absolutely. So Claudio says, I'm all about squatting up. For the sake of discussion, I recently saw a counter argument about not squatting up because it takes away 50% of your deal income. Thoughts? I disagree, because when we work together, we are 10x. So look, I think that when you see people describing that type of fear or that type of sentiment, it's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of not enough. It's coming from a place of mine, yours, yours, yours. And quite honestly, what's happening there is they're dividing an imaginary pie that no one even has yet. And that's the part that always really makes me wonder, right? Because look, I have nothing against the person that says, you know, don't squat up, keep everything to yourself, keep all your deals. But I can tell you that you don't get very far that way. You absolutely don't. And I haven't met I actually haven't met any successful wholesalers that have maintained longevity in this business that come from that place of scarcity. And so, Claudio, I think that you can recognize, when somebody says something, or somebody has a thought, and you can just instinctively tell that what this person said makes sense or doesn't make sense, right? I think that's one of those circumstances, and you can see that argument, and you can see the vein from where it's coming from. Again, you're entitled to your experience, and you're entitled to your thought process. And if you feel that retaining 100% of nothing is the best thing for you, by all means, go down that path. But it's a lonely, broke existence on that island.
I think this is a good question for Brent Daniels right here.
Well, I think, and just one second there, I think that there's maybe some misinterpretation of squatting up. I think what a lot of people think, Jamil, is I find a deal, you help me sell it, we split it 50-50, right?
Right.
Well, when we do deals together, I go, Jamil, do you want this deal? And you're like, yeah. And then you add on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's different ways to squat up. There's different opportunities. There's different squatting up doesn't necessarily mean, hey, listen, you're really good at dispo and you're really good at finding deals, and then let's squat up and do every single deal together and split it 50-50. Squatting up means finding somebody in your market that can help you out when you're starting out and cut your learning curve from 3 years to 3 months. Okay.
Or
squatting up
topic that you're trying to learn. Maybe it's like, a cash buyer that's doing fix and flips, and you ask him to stop by his property and visit with his contractors or whatever. It just means to collaborate. And ultimately, how do you collaborate is you talk to people. And that's look at John Thompson's question. How do you find other wholesalers to collab with, or how do you find them to squat up with? I would say first place is in the comments on Wholesale Hotline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fun for us to watch. Like, we see your comments. We can't get to all of them because of how rapidly they come through. But we see them all. I mean, we're streaming between multiple platforms right now. So we get probably 500, 600 comments during the show. And I'd say half of them have to do with, hey, I'm in Orlando. Who wants to squat up? So John Thompson, here's first step. Introduce where you're at. What market are you in? And how do you need help? And you'll see amazing. We have this Wholesale Hotline community is nationwide. You're going to get people in any market that you're in. So first step is introduce yourself in Wholesale Hotline chat. Where else would you guys squat up and find other wholesalers?
Well, the meetup groups. I mean, I don't know what meetup.com is doing right now, but I assume that they're switching things up to do virtual type of meetups, or maybe there's some rules in where, in different cities where you're living in that you can meet up if you're masked and socially distanced or whatever else. But I met Brandon Simmons at his meetup. I saw it online. I went, oh, that looks like a cool meetup. I went to his meetup. Brandon Simmons, then we start chatting it up. I'm doing deals. I'm selling deals to him. I'm selling deals here. I'm doing deals and then all of a sudden, I'm in the Go Giver Mastermind where we all really connected and really got brought in. So I think that meetup.com, finding some interesting, groups there that kind of feel good in your gut and your belly. Try some of that out and see if you can find somebody that matches up. I think Bigger Pockets does some meetup posts as well. So yeah.
That and social media is another great spot. Not only just the Facebook groups, but look at people that are interacting with other people in the business, right? If you come on to Brent Daniels' Instagram page or Pace's Instagram page, and you start looking at the comments, and you start looking at who are liking the pictures, who are leaving comments, and then going to their profiles and seeing what they're about. You can really do a lot of sleuthing without needing a private investigator license. You can find out who people are simply by just going to their Facebook or their Instagram pages. In addition to that, you can look at hashtags that are followed by people in the industry, right? So if you're looking at cash buyers needed or wholesaling real estate, or these types of hashtags are followed by many people that are in the business. And you reach out to them just based off of what hashtags they follow. It's really not that difficult. There was one more hack that I shared on Brent Daniels' podcast, and that was finding out who has built a website through Carrot. And you can actually hack that. And if you want to know that hack, send me a DM on Instagram, and my assistant will send it to you. But we'll show you how to find out all the people who have built websites using the Carrot, who have built the Carrot website in your area, and you can reach out to them by clicking on their sites.
And then what? And then what do they do after they click the site?
Well, they get out to their site and they ask them, "How you doing? What are you doing?" Like they TTP.
You call the number on that website. Yeah,
absolutely. They call the number on the website and they make a friend. You know, nobody nobody has a website not to be called, right? This person didn't go and spend all that money to put together a website so that no one would find them. They want to hear from you, right? People want to hear from you, and I hear this. A lot of times the hardest part of this business is just getting over that initial fear to make the call.
Yep.
Once you get over that initial fear to make the call, you'll see just how beautifully receptive people can be.
Well, and that's it. And just a little tip there. Don't let it go longer than 5 seconds to make that call. Make the call right now. Don't even think about it. You're going to talk yourself out of it. Do that 5 second, 5, 4, 3, 2, go. You know what I mean? Like 5 seconds, after 5 seconds, it's going to go all over the place. Make the call right now. If you see the number, dial it, press go. Even if you stumble and fumble all around, you're going to be better off than if you didn't make the call or if you never make the call. So make the call. You got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain. It's all upside.
Yep. I know of 3 really good Facebook groups that people can join too. There's an astro flipping public page where you can go in and connect with people that are a part of the program that's open to the public. Creative Finance by Pace Morby is one of the most active Facebook groups I've seen out there. And there's a TTP group as well. I'm sure, is that closed off to just TTP?
Yeah, that's a private group, but REI Freedom is Wholesaling Inc.'s group, phenomenal group, really managed, really looked at. Nobody's pitching in there, nobody's putting weird forex trading ads inside it, type of thing. You know what I mean? So it's really good, solid group. But these guys,
I just brought Ryan Harper onto the show. So anybody that doesn't know Ryan Harper, I brought him on here because it's an interesting topic right now, talking about how do I squad up? How do I get started meeting with people? And Ryan Harper, if anybody, you should recognize this man. Go to Propelio.com or go to the Propelio YouTube. This is the dude that was on Propelio's YouTube, and like he was the lifeblood, in my opinion, of those YouTube videos. Amazing job, Ryan.
Well, thank you.
Amazing job. You have helped me out personally in my media business. You are unbelievable. And you have an event. I think you guys ran an event last month that was like 800 people came to your event.
Yeah, which is interesting because of the current climate we're in. But, real estate investors, you know how we are. We're stubborn. And it's Texas.
But my point is this. If you want to find people and you want to go out and squat up, there are people, you might not know them because you haven't taken 5 minutes to Google it, but there are massive meetups going on right now. You guys have a meetup coming up in December. Tell us about that.
Yeah, December 7th, I have a few news because I announced a couple speakers today. We're announcing the other speakers coming up here probably tomorrow, and we're really excited. Our big thing is, typical meetups, they use the speakers to kind of have the draw. We're kind of the opposite. We don't announce the speakers until like a week before because we don't want the speakers we want them to actually just concentrate on delivering value instead of like, oh, I have to promote this event. Like, our event's fine. We'll have people. Like, we're not worried about promoting. But to answer your question, absolutely. There's tons of meetups out there. There's Facebook groups. Networking. Offer to take people to coffee, for a burger, for a beer, whatever. If you're not networking, you're not doing this business right. I mean, just look at the whole
what city and when is your event?
We're in Dallas, Texas. It's next Monday. From 5 o'clock till whenever they close the place down.
If I'm in Houston, San Antonio, Austin, or I'm in Dallas, which I would drive from all those locations to go to this event, how would I find out more information?
you go to the DallasEvent.com. Yeah, theDallasEvent.com. But it's not just for Texas. We already have people flying in from California, from New York, last event we had people flying in from all over the country. This this event, I already know there's at least 3 people from California coming out because they were like, hey, where are y'all still having an event? I'm like, yeah. Do you not know who our governor is? Come on now.
Well, Ryan, I'm glad. Thank you for coming on here. I just wanted to make sure people understood that there's massive events going on all over the country, and not only are they doing them in person, but they're doing a ton of them in virtual markets. You guys just have to take the time, whether it's meetup.com or go to thedallasevent.com for Ryan Harper's. There's events going on in every single market. Keegley, are you guys still doing your event, Jamil?
Where?
In Phoenix.
We were supposed to have one last month, but right before Thanksgiving and everybody seeing their elderly grandparents, we thought it was probably better for us to to hold that one off. So we'll be resuming them again. We just wanted to be mindful of the holidays and respectful of our staff, but they'll be starting up again in January.
Guys, you should reach out to Ryan Harper. Ryan, what's your Instagram before we get you off of here?
Oh, I love it, man. Last time you did this, I got 100 new ones because, life is all about your follower count. Ryan S. Harper on everything.
Ryan S. Harper. He's an amazing guy. He's incredibly connected. I would say he is the connector in the wholesale world, guys. If you need to know somebody, Ryan's the guy.
Ryan, do you have any idea who will be speaking at your event?
Do what now?
Yeah.
He said who's going to be speaking at your event.
Yeah, we announced a couple today. We're announcing the other ones tomorrow. But if you want to announce something, that's on you.
What do you know, Pace?
I'm down if you want to go.
Let's do it.
All right. There you go.
There you go. Announcement made.
Announcement made. We'll be in Dallas, guys. We'll be in Dallas.
Brent, check your phone.
Huh? I saw you text me. Yeah.
Also, just to add one bit of value, because I don't want to be like, hey, thank you for the promotion. You're talking about networking. You know your network, know your people, but don't use it just for one thing. So, perfect example. I have a friend that's going out to Phoenix in late December. Hey, Pace, do you have an Airbnb? So my friend, can you? I get nothing out of that. Pace might get a couple $100 out of it, but again, you're using your network. And you're using it for more than just, hey, me, give me. So,
I needed a studio for last week's wholesale hotline, so I jumped into your studio in Dallas and at last impromptu meeting. It's just nice to know people in every market, guys. You need to be squatting up. Ryan, you're handsome, and we appreciate you.
Love you, bro.
Take it easy, guys.
See you, Ryan.
You rock, dude.
Yeah, Ryan has helped out with a lot, with the whole studio, with the equipment, with everything. I mean, he's incredible, and he's really they have an interesting vibe in Dallas, right?
Very.
You know what I mean? They're very they don't want people getting up there and doing a planned performance and selling a bunch of stuff. They're totally anti that. It's really cute. It's really pure. It's really about the real estate. It's really about getting deals. It's really about connecting with other people that are really doing that. So anybody in the DFW area, if you feel if you're available to get out there, definitely go squat up. I mean, perfect timing.
So cool.
Awesome.
Let's see here.
Where's some good questions? Can we get back to that closing cost question? Because I think that's a really, really good question as you're getting into this.
It's on the screen for you.
It's kind of it's on the same one. How do you secure? By the way, guys, listen. If you're enjoying this, you're enjoying it every Monday. Remember, the audio of this gets cleaned up. We put it on to a podcast. You can listen to it as you're driving around and really just get, all the stuff that maybe, kind of didn't connect the first time. It's going to connect when you're sitting there driving in your, university classroom that is your car. So Liam asked a question. How do you secure a full wholesale fee when offering the seller to cover closing costs? Great question, Liam. Actually, the cash buyer that you're assigning the deal to, if you're going to do a pure wholesale and assign the contract, is going to pay those closing costs. Now, if it's a bigger deal, Jamil suggests if it's over $15,000, do a double close or a double escrow where you actually take title. You would be responsible for that. But if you're doing a wholesale assignment, then the cash buyer already knows and is aware that they are paying the closing costs for that deal.
And Brent, I just want to clarify, we've actually changed our metric from 15,000 to 20.
Got it.
Now, if we're going to be making more than 20,000 on the profits, we will do a double close. Anything 20K or below, we do an assignment.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So good question, Liam. I think the other question was, how do we pay? Do we have to pay the closing costs up front? No, remember, everything comes out of the purchase of the property. What a title company does and a closing attorney does is they make sure that they handle the money. So you got the seller and you got the buyer. And when they come in, when the buyer comes in with all the funds to close, it's going to pay those closing costs. It's going to pay the seller whatever was agreed on the contract. And then you also get paid if you're getting an assignment fee. It's beautiful.
Love it. So that question, Pace, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if I answer this one?
Not at all.
So LP Review says, can you touch on the topic of not giving up? I just had this conversation with somebody, and this is not a bull crap cliche answer. This is truly it. The option of me giving up in this business when I was starting was not even there. And what I mean by that is that I chose and I committed to this business, and I basically burned everything else in my mind. This is what I do. So instead of me waking up and thinking, what else can I do to go make money besides this? My question was, what can I do today to make money doing this? It's a completely different thought process where a lot of people are I need to go back to doing a job. I'm like, okay, so you're going to go get an interview. You're going to spend a week or two until you start. Then you're going to wait 2 or 3 weeks until you get a check. Like by that time, if you would have just put in the work, you could go get a check. So my personal thing and why giving up is not even in my world. And same thing with all the people we hang out with is that this is what we're committed to. This is what we're doing the rest of our lives, right? What are your guys' thoughts on not giving up?
I 100% agree with that, Pace. There's a person in the Astro Flipping mentorship who I truly admire. He's right now in the early stages of learning and going through the program, and just as you had just mentioned, he has burnt all of his plan Bs. So there is no plan B. He cannot have anything but success, and because he's not giving himself an option to fail, he will succeed. And here's why, right? You got to look at what failure means, right? Is failure when you don't get the deal? Is failure when you don't get a contract? Is failure when you have to eat ramen noodles for another month because there's not enough income coming in right now? Or is failure the day you decide to fold it up and go become a W-2 employee again because entrepreneurship isn't for you? I don't think there's any such thing as failure until the day you decide to give up. Right. And so, look, LP, here's what I would say. And this could be extreme, but what would be the worst thing that you could possibly imagine in life happening, and equate that to failing, equate that to giving up, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're essentially saying to yourself, you're not worth it. And you'd be better off going and working for somebody else. If you really need a boss that bad, tell your wife to tell you what to do all day long. You know, maybe she can make you get up in the morning and do the calls or whatever that is, right? Find a way to become accountable is what it means.
You know, I had a business partner years ago that when I was in my early 20s, I was running a manufacturing business. And I had a partner that was answering this question to me because I was going through some of those questions myself.
Yeah.
And his simple answer to my anxiety and all my stress was, Pace, what's the worst thing that can ever happen to you? Are they going to take your birthday away from you? And I'm like, oh, I guess not. He was like, look, on the bright side, no matter what happens to you, your birthday comes every single year. You got one good day a year, no matter what happens. And then he broke it down and dissected it. He said, Pace, nothing bad is going to happen to you. Just crank out and focus on the efforts, focus on the positivity. And I remember the last time I had a job sitting in a cubicle doing debt collections at Dillard's Bank. I literally was there for 2 hours and I sat in that cubicle and I was like, this is absolutely the worst thing that could ever happen to me. It is my greatest fear is to have a job. And so guys, like, you have to be that fearful of being normal. You have to be that fearful of not, being successful. And if success just means not having to answer to somebody else every day and doesn't mean you have to have $10 million in the bank. It just means you have to be happy and you have to have forward progression. So sitting in a cubicle for me was not forward progression, and I repelled it like a cockroach being sprayed with Raid. It was so scary to me to be in a cubicle that I felt like I was going to prison. So I think maybe there's some mindset stuff that maybe we should talk about in the future, Jamil.
I absolutely agree. The funny thing about this, right, is that this business is 90% internal. 90% of what is going to happen to you is you happening to you. It's you happening to you. It's your own self-fulfilling prophecies. It's your own negative thinking. It's all of the things that comparing yourself to other people's success. Oh my God, how terrible would it be if look, let's be real. We all three of us have aspirations, dreams, and goals, and we all see ourselves propelling our careers into a path that is beyond where we are today. Correct?
Yep.
All right.
100%. Can I make 2 points on this thing?
Yeah.
Are you done? I don't want to interrupt.
No, but I'm saying is that if I'm going to compare myself to Gary Vee every day, because I'm not Gary Vee, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel like a piece of crap.
Right.
I stop comparing myself to anybody, and I just get up and I do the work I'm supposed to do, and that's it.
Love it. This is the classic, battle between wanting something and it must happen. Like, Pace must get out of that cubicle. It was killing him, right? If you must not live an average life, if you must not want to work 9 to 5 or do whatever, if you must want the financial freedom through real estate, that's the difference between just wanting it. So really goes back to what is the must, what is the want, right? I want to do deals. I want to be a real estate investor. Well, it's tough. It's hard. Listen, to go out every single day and go door knock like Justice and just jump out there and just go without fear and just get deals and just start going. There's a reason why he was featured here, right? Because he's out there doing it. There's plenty of people that watch this that don't necessarily take action. There's plenty of people that do. But is it a must or is it a want? That's the big difference. Is it a passion or is it your purpose? Is your purpose to be the financial leader in your family, in your household, in your the people that are around you? Or is it just a passion to make some money here and there? You got to decide on what you want to do. And then once you decide on that, once you make that decision, then you just start implementing and taking action on that, and you win. I'm telling you, what I really wanted to say is talk to 1,000 people, talk to 1,000 distressed property owners with authentic enthusiasm in your voice, and see how you feel after that. If you feel nothing, if it's empty, then quit.
Bro,
if you're feeling pumped up and energized, go for it.
Think about this. This is an interesting thing that you just brought up. If you put a sheet together, like an Excel spreadsheet, and you just listed it 1 through 1,000 columns, and every time you talk to a seller, you just checked off that column all the way down to 1,000, I will bet $1 million that people won't get down to the bottom of those, because by the time they get to their 100th seller, they will have figured out this game.
Yep.
They will have even forgot how they feel when they created the sheet in the first place.
Right.
It's the same thing as, like, if you're ultra thirsty and like you're going to die from thirst, somebody brings you a glass of water, 5 minutes after you drink that glass of water, you forgot how bad it was to be thirsty. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, is that there's a knowledge that, or many mindset breakthroughs you have when you're talking to these sellers, that by the time you get to the 100th person you've talked to, So last thing, and I'll shut up. Whenever I hear somebody say, I've been trying to do this for a long time, I haven't gotten my first deal, my first question to them is, how many sellers have you spoken to in the last 30 days? And what would you say the majority of those people say?
None.
Oh, I haven't talked to a seller in a while.
Yep.
I've been busy trying to get my podio put together. I've been busy doing this, that, and the other. Guys, one of my favorite things Brent says, this business comes down to talking to people, which is another way of saying what? It's quality.
Conversations with distressed property owners. You have 1,000 quality conversations with distressed property owners. You cannot lose. It's impossible. I don't care. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, check this out. Scott Osborne says, I'm going to build my list of 1,000 sellers right now. And he had a really good question up above. He said, if you only had an hour and a half a day that you could time block, because if you look at his photo, it looks like he's got a wife and kids, or at least one daughter on his profile photo. He says, if you only have an hour and a half a day to focus on this real estate journey, what would that be? Now, Scott, this is why having a mentor is so good, because a mentor, like, for example, on Sunday morning, I spoke to my students for 5 hours on a Sunday morning for 5 hours and gave individualized answers based on my students' individual situation. So I don't know your individual situation, but that's why it's good to have mentors like Brent Daniels, Jamil Damji, and myself. But I'm going to give you a quick answer. I would fill that hour and a half with figuring out how to talk to motivated sellers.
Yep.
Whether it's direct mail, I wouldn't do direct mail just because it's costly, but I would do driving for dollars and skip tracing and calling them. I would do cold calling. I would do texting. I would be leaving notes on people's houses. I would do whatever I possibly can. I would go into Facebook chats and I would ask people if there's anything I could do to help them, find buyers. I would figure out my niche in this business, whether it's texting or cold calling or whatever. And I would fill my hour and a half every single day with checking as many of those 1,000 sellers off my checklist as I humanly can.
May I add to that?
Yes.
So, funny enough, one of my students, Wes Estrada, he's watching the show today, and Wes, it took him a little while to get his first deal. All right, it took him a little while to get his first deal, but he's got a W-2 job. He's doing stuff, right? He's always busy. He's got a full-time gig, and he only had a certain amount of time every day to do outreach, a certain amount of time to get out there and have conversations. And so we decided to focus on one thing, and it's another one of my students in here, Kimberly Mathau, that also I said, let's do the one thing, and they focused on finding buyers, building their buyers lists, right? And then all they needed to do was, rather than go out and talk to 1,000 sellers, they needed to go out and talk to 100 wholesalers. And guess what happened? Wesley did his first deal, right? Kimberly's working on hers right now. And so this is something that you can do if you really don't have much time, but you've got a little bit of time every day. Maybe it will be difficult for you to get out there and do all of it. Having conversations with sellers, driving for dollars, texting, what do you focus on? Pick one thing and do that one thing well. Build a buyer's list, talk to wholesalers, do one thing. And the other side, squat up.
Yep. I love that you mentioned this, Jamil, because we need to hit this more, because I think there's a lot of mystery around Astro, and it's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, without a doubt. I mean, it still falls in the line of everything that we're talking about here, but it is so overlooked to get referrals. I mean, you talked about and I just want to give people just a little, when you say talk to 100 wholesalers, what does that mean? What does that mean? What do you say to them? You know what I mean? Just give us a little bit.
Yeah. So, for instance, there are how many people in this TTP program, Brent?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, well, let's call hundreds of people.
It feels like millions because they're so strong.
That's right.
Right, and so you've got this fantastic group of wholesalers in the TTP program that Brent Daniels is training and teaching to go out there and talk to motivated sellers, right? Yep. So they're spending their entire day talking to sellers. And sometimes a lot of them are focusing on that specifically, right? For their entire day. Yep. And so what ends up happening is they get a great deal under contract, and then it's tough for them to find a buyer because they've been so focused on that side of the business. They've been focusing on acquisitions. Well, guess what? Astro flipping is leveraging that, leveraging the unpaid workforce of the realtor, leveraging the unpaid workforce of other wholesalers, getting their inventory and pairing them with buyers that we help you mine. And so astro flipping is essentially getting to the heart and soul of the business, which is the deal and the buyer, and inserting yourself in the quickest way to the check, which is the deal's already under contract, the buyer is already ready to pull the trigger. Let's connect the two dots and get our money. Love it.
Love it. Listen to what's going on there, guys. I'm telling you, being the connector, I mean, look at Jamil. I mean, he does more than anybody. I mean, there's ways to scale that and to be able to really build an incredible business where people come to you. You know, it's something I've been thinking about, guys, and I haven't talked to you guys about this yet. But something that I really think that I'm going to start really pushing is for people to start their own local podcasts. I'm going to really start hammering this. I think that if people start their own podcast, local podcasts, and really start interviewing some great people and really you don't need a lot of money. You don't have a lot to do. I think if you start your own local podcast, I think within a year to 18 months, you can be one of the connectors in that community. What do you guys think?
100% agree. I 1000% agree with that. It doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot to do this. You know, all you've got to do is start networking and start to look. We got Errol Hart Richards in the chat, right? Another awesome guy that Pace and I met in Atlanta, which we just so happen to be in Atlanta right now. We met Errol in Atlanta at was it We Live, right?
Yeah, We Live 2020 in 2020
hotel. And so we are coming on about a year from then, right? It's been about a year, maybe a little over that. And I just read in the chat that Errol has closed 51 deals now since that time. Now, I just want to say, Errol, and I apologize for putting your business out there, but most people might know this. Errol was homeless. Errol was living in a UPS store, right? And they didn't know it, right? So Errol was homeless, and since that time has now done 51 deals. That is incredible. That's like a deal a week, right? That's a deal a week. So, and again, he didn't. It's not like he went and took like magic spinach or anything like that. All he did was start connecting the dots and communicating with people. And I've actually watched my team work with Errol. I've seen Errol work with many other folks in the industry and many other folks in the business, squatting up with folks and becoming the connector of dots for folks in Atlanta. And so that's the key right there. And I think, Brent, it's an amazing idea to push people, because that's a beautiful thing that you do, Brent. You give permission. You give a lot of people permission to be loud and to own this, right? And so you help me do that. You help Pace do that. And I think that if you could help give a lot of folks in the country just the permission to get out there and make this more a real thing for them in their lives, that'd be amazing.
I think an easy thing for people to start with, by the way, Rini asked the question, what would be an example to start a podcast? What do we talk about to get going? I think a really good example or an idea would be if you have hesitation to start a podcast and not have any live viewers when you first start out, maybe get 5 or 6 people in your local area, or 5 or 6 people from the wholesale hotline chat. And why don't you guys just do private Zooms and talk about what's working and what's not working, and get used to, getting together and having the campfire effect. Squad up doesn't mean it has to be in your own local market. Create a group, an accountability group, 10, 15, 20 people. Reach out to the sub 2 students, reach out to the TTP students, reach out to Jamil students, Astro. you guys are going to get a tremendous amount of benefit from bringing them into maybe a private Zoom, 5 to 20 people. And then as your audience grows, go start a podcast. And who cares if you have 1 viewer or 100? It doesn't freaking matter.
No, you start promoting it everywhere. You start being loud on your social media. You start, maybe you're already in a coaching program and you interview your coach, and then you start interviewing, the top guys around town that are quiet, but nobody knows about them, but they want to say. How many times I've interviewed so many people that are like, I've never done a podcast interview. As soon as we start the second sentence, they are going bananas. They're having so much fun. They're telling their story and they're sharing and they're doing all these things. I'm telling you, you give people a platform to get recognition, you're going to get a lot of opportunities. And at the end of every show, say, if you need help comping properties, if you need help, if you need a cash buyer, if you need connected with money, if you need all these things, reach out to me. Here's my info. Listen, I'm telling you.
You know what you could do is you could do a podcast. I was thinking about doing this on YouTube Live in January, but somebody else can steal the idea. I was going to call it Watch Me Work, where I literally just go live for 2 hours and I call, leads and I call buyers. I work deals, and there's going to be a lot of dead air, but literally just watch me work. So Mamadou, who's a sub-2 student, been cranking out deals, by the way. Bro, you are so good at Instagram, by the way. He tags me all the time when he's doing deals. He's constantly commenting and doing stuff. He obviously understands how to work social media. Bro, just go live once a week for an hour and have people watch you call your sellers. Have them watch you get roasted by a seller saying to F off. Like, nobody is going to have more fun watching anything else besides that. That's going to be like the best entertainment. So if you're brand new, people want to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. They want to see it all.
And Pace, you do an incredible job of this. It's called document, don't create. What I would say is, don't worry about just starting out. That's your platform. I'm just starting out. You know what I mean? You see it pop up every so often with people on YouTube or podcasts or something. They're just saying, I'm going to just go from the bottom. This is exactly what Aaron Bevins did. It's what he did from the beginning. I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to do this business. It's what Max Maxwell did. He literally walked through the whole steps of his first time flying into Sean Terry's event to now, flying airplanes. You know what I mean? Like, guys, this is not, oh man, I'm going to get into this. This is firing me. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to put something, I'm going to figure something.
Guys, stop firing TTB up. He'll freaking rip his shirt. I guarantee.
Yeah, I'll rip it right off. I don't care. We'll do the second half of this show topless.
I'm in. Justin asked, he recently had a realtor tell him that if he advertised that to bird dogs, that he could give them a finder's fee, that would be illegal, and he wanted to know thoughts. So Justin, it is all in the semantics and it's all in the structure, but yes, what that realtor said to you is correct. If you are advertising to pay finder's fees to unlicensed individuals, that is absolutely not the way to do it. That's illegal. Now, how do you get around that? How do you do this? How do you do this correctly? Well, there's a number of ways, but the best and easiest way is through assignments. And so what you would do is you would actually help your bird dogs understand how to create contracts or how to write contracts. And you would have your bird dog write the contract for those properties and then assign them to you. Or you would assign them to your bird dog, who would then assign them to your buyer. Either way would work, but you need to transfer contractual rights in order to be paid the assignment fee. And so the way that people do wholesaling without a license is because they're the principal in the transaction. They are the actual party named on the contract. That's what allows them to sell their position in that contract and take a fee. And so that would be the workaround there. You would want to do these by assignment, JV agreement, or option agreement. All of those would suffice. And that would help you get around that whole finder's fee situation that the realtor described to you. But that realtor was correct. If you don't do this correctly, you are in the gray area.
Can I get this one here? Oh, hold on.
Here's so Scott Osborne says, anyone from Jacksonville, Florida. So speaking of podcasts, I just want you guys to know that I currently have 5 podcasts that I run every single week. I have Wholesale Hotline with my 2 brothers. I've got Sunday Service. I've got one called Get Creative that the first episode releases this week. It's a 30-minute podcast. And I want to point out, somebody just asked, is there one from Jacksonville, Florida? Scott Osborne. On Wednesday, Get Creative is a non-live broadcast because it's not Q&A. It's just highlighting somebody in the creative financing realm. April Giuliano was homeless in March. She now lives in her own sub-2 mansion. She has 40 wholesale deals in escrow that will all close before the end of the year. She is in Jacksonville, Florida, and I will be releasing her podcast on Wednesday. Go check out my YouTube channel. You need to connect with her. She is unbelievable. Your life will change when you meet this woman. She was contemplating, I think she still is contemplating becoming a Keegley franchise in the Jacksonville, Florida market. So anyway, by the way, you guys aren't asking a great question on squatting up. You need to be asking, where are the other Keegley franchisees? So think about why are Jamil and I in Atlanta right now? Do we just like to travel around and be away from our family and be away from Brent Daniels? Atlanta's pretty cool, but not that cool.
Yeah.
There's 2 reasons we're here in Atlanta. Number 1, for me, is I'm buying a property right down the road that I'm super excited about, so I came to look at it. And then 2, Jamil has a franchise here that is doing between $250,000 to $300,000 a month. A month. Okay, they're doing $250,000 to $300,000 a month in assignment fees. We're here to visit them and work with them on stuff. So guys, there are Keegley franchises in a lot of markets. You need to be connecting with Jamil in the DMs and asking him to connect you with the Keegley franchisees.
Thank you, bro. Absolutely.
This one's good. Anyone in Gilbert, Arizona? Kyle, are you kidding me? The 3 people on the screen are in Arizona. TTP's office, you can go by there. You can go by batch skip tracing. You can go to my office in Tempe. You can squat up with so many people. We're doing events in Phoenix frequently. Last month at Keegley's offices, Brent Daniels, Jamil Damsey, and myself spoke for 45 minutes, and you had a good, 120, 130 people there, and it was freaking everybody got Chick-fil-A, dude.
It's awesome.
Bro, Kyle Scott, where you been, dog? Where have you been?
Come on, Kyle. I went to Highland High School in Gilbert. Come on, Kyle.
Yeah, Brent Daniels had his first kiss in Gilbert. So dude,
that's true. That is true.
Love it.
Love it. There was a
Errol Hart says homeless is the way to go, apparently.
There was a question about
power of broke, right? It's the power of broke. He had no option. Errol had no plan B. Do you see how having no plan B makes plan A the only option? Right? Ride or die.
There was a question about how often to switch up a calling list. So I wanted to answer that because I think it came up a couple times.
Yeah, it's the same person that's posted it 5 times. I wanted to answer it too.
And now
I'll answer while you look for it. The answer to the question is, how often do we switch out the list? We have been calling. Let me give you an example of one list. We have a list. It's a pretty niche list, 13,000 homes. The list is East Mesa manufactured homes that have dirt, meaning they own the land, okay?
Yeah.
So there's 13,000 homes on that list. How fast do people will call that list? A VA could call that list twice in a month, probably, maybe more. We have been calling that same list for 2 years. And all we do is we use batch list stacker to pull out the houses that have already sold or any new updated information. We have been hammering that list every single month, every single week, and we pull out 2 to 3 deals out of that 13,000 person list. Brent, you have a little bit different of a methodology, but for me, I will call that seller If I have the right number, I will call that seller until they tell me to F off or until they sell their house to somebody else. That's it. That's the only time if it shows there's equity on a wholesale deal and it shows there's pain, especially on foreclosures, tax delinquents, etc., I never switch out the list. And the question of how often you switch out the list, I can tell you where it comes from. It comes from people's fear of calling that seller too many times. And let me be so freaking clear on this. There are 30 other wholesalers trying to contact that same seller. They can't tell the difference between you and the other 29. You know how they tell the difference between you and the other 29? Is because you need to be the only one of those 30 that call the following week as well. Yep. So many people will call one time and go, oh, they didn't answer. And so they think that they have to change out the list. Stop it. You keep calling the list, especially when it indicates that there's pain. Brent, you have a little bit different methodology on this, right?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of a hybrid of that. I always suggest that you call a list twice and get rid of it, 3 times the most. The contact rate goes down each time you go through a list. So if I'm hiring somebody to make calls, I don't want them talking to 2 people an hour if they're going through the same list that's been chewed up. Now, with that being said, we have a stalker list. We have 1,000 properties around the area in Central Phoenix here, guys, 1,000 properties that are on our stalker list. And I had this theory in 2018 that if you found 1,000 of the worst houses around you and you were obsessed with them, you called them, you texted them, you door knocked them, you sent them mail, you handwrote them, you put something on their door or whatever else, you can get 15 to 20 deals a year just from that 1,000 addresses. Okay. 15 to 20 of those are going to sell. I mean, probably more like 50 to 75 are going to sell, but you're going to get the opportunity to get 15 to 20. And in 18, we did 12 of them. In 19, we did 15. This year, we've done 10 from that list. And we go out and we'll replace the ones that we got. But the interesting thing is, if you get obsessed with the worst properties, they're going to pop at some point. They're going to pop. So you can go out. We go after that list. I'll go after that list until all of them are renovated, until they're all cleaned up. They're all beautiful. They're all fixed up. They're all done. But until that day,
what kind of house makes your stalker list?
Just really, really, really run down from a driving for dollars perspective. There's dated, and then there's oh shit, right? Yep. There's dated, and then there's that burnt down house. Yep. There's dated, and then there's like, plywood in the windows type of thing. You know what I mean?
That's really good advice. So when I was a Homebester franchise, my wife was my transaction coordinator before we had our baby and before, we got to a point where we're doing as many deals as we're doing now. We had to hire 2 transaction coordinators. And my wife was like, please let me be your listing agent on your fix and flip. So we transitioned her out. But back at that time, my wife would go through all of my leads every single month, and she would call and she would verify if they had sold or not from the month before. And then she would call and ask them why they didn't sell to Pace, my husband. I'm not joking you. She did this unprovoked. Okay. This is why my wife is a badass. Okay. By the way, if you don't follow my wife on TikTok, she has a 2 million view. You know that baby powder thing, Jamil? And she has 2 million views on that thing.
Crazy.
Anyway, follow my wife on TikTok. She's super hot, by the way, too. So check her out. She's awesome. She would call these sellers and she would say, why did you not sell to Pace? I see you sold to another investor or you listed with an agent. Do you mind it? If I asked some customer service, was there something that he did wrong or something that he made you feel a certain way? And the number one and the only one reason why I didn't get those houses, can anybody guess why?
Can follow up.
Yeah, timing.
Because I was afraid of bothering the seller.
Yep.
I was afraid of bothering the seller. And so I didn't call him. I go, I'll check in with them. And my wife is the one that taught me this lesson. My wife taught me, you need to follow up with these people. It's the number one reason why you're losing 2 or 3 deals a month. Back in these days, I was only doing direct mail. So I would get 30 leads a month. I would get 1 lead a day. And out of those 30 leads, just like Brent's talking about, a certain amount of those people would sell every single month.
Yep.
And we found out I was losing 1 to 3 deals every month because I wasn't following up as frequently as I should have. So we doubled and tripled our follow-up.
Love it. Real
Alexa,
quick, for the friendly investors.
boom.
Now, by the way, friendly investors, now go get them sold. Okay. Do you have, can you help them in Tampa?
100%. Alexis, we follow each other on Instagram. Reach out. Let me help you get those things gone.
I like this. Have you guys messed with this? I love doing this. If you don't mind, I'll step in here on this. Basically, the question from Brandon is PB&J. What's your thoughts on reaching boarded, vacant, hard to reach owners who have zero contact information or disconnected phone numbers? I want to reach the unreachable. So let's assume that you look it up on wherever and you on the tax assessor site and the mailing address is the same as the house. Okay. So now you don't have, let's move. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So now the mailing address is the same as the house. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, how do I get them? Well, there was one company that does a good job of really digging deep, and they're called American Tracers. American Tracers. I believe Spencer Shadrack bought it, and they go really deep. Now, it's a more expensive of a skip trace, but they're going to pull in more information than maybe you didn't get from just a quick, a batch skip tracing or something, right? So American Tracers. The other one, if American Tracers doesn't, then you need to find somebody on Fiverr or on Upwork that has a TLO account, somebody that can do a background search, or find a private investigator. Either one. And sometimes they put their services on, believe it or not, Upwork or Fiverr. Right? You go there and you say, listen, I need to find the contact information for whatever you can with this property or this person. And then you get as much information as possible, whether it be a mailing address to them, an email address, a social media profile, or their phone number. And then just start systematically reaching out. And you have to be really, really, really appropriate in the way that you're reaching out to the family members. And you say, listen, this is crazy. This is really crazy that I'm even calling you, but there is a property on Banana Street and it's been sitting there. It needs a lot of work and I just really want to buy it. I want to do something special with it or put it in the hands of somebody that can do something really special with it. I'm trying to reach the owner, but it's impossible. Do you have any idea who I should be talking to? And then that's the process that you go. You start peeling back the layers there and just find them, Brandon. And I'm telling you, if you dig, you're going to find some good deals. There are people that I know here in town, guys, that this is all they do. They go after the most impossible of the impossible of the possible. They'll actually skip trace a list looking for the properties that don't come back, run it through another skip, don't come back, run it through American Tracers, don't come back, and then those are the properties they go after. So just make sure you're not going after something that's owned by the state. Make sure it's not owned by the county, not owned by a bank. Make sure it's an individual or an LLC, but hopefully an individual. Make sense?
Love it. Love it.
Getting super stalkerish, I guess.
Well, you know what's awesome, Brent, is that those people, the ones that are the hard ones to reach, the guys that Brandon's trying to find and they're the ones that everyone gives up on.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So people are going to give up trying. And that means that the number of folks that are going to be reaching out to them is going to be greatly diminished, meaning that if you can actually get them on the phone, your likelihood of getting that under contract is a lot higher than your average homeowner. And so I think you've got the odds in your favor in those instances. It's just going to require a little bit more legwork on the front end.
Yep. Look at that. There you go. Boom. And Jared, who's going to be coming out here. Jared, by the way, we've narrowed it down to a couple days, and I'll get back to you on that tomorrow to fly you out. Jared won the contest a couple weeks ago, so we're going to spend the day with him. We're really excited. We're all really excited to do that. So
good times.
Richard, LexisNexis is up there with TLO, but TLO is crazy. There's part of TLO that tracks everything. They track where you park your car the most, the 10 most places you park your car. I'm telling you, you would be absolutely shocked to know how much these companies know about you. It's crazy.
I have a TLO account, and yeah, you should see how much I know about you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it. So good question tonight. Some really good stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Scott, you almost won. I told you to DM me. I'd love to jump on a call with you, Scott. Scott had the group that got second place, guys.
Yep.
What did we decide on the date that we're going to fly the winner out?
Brent was asking us to see about the 9th, I think, right? Is that right, Brent?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I like the 9th.
I like the 9th too.
Let us know, Jared.
I think the 9th, Jamil, is when the Dallas event is. So if we're speaking at the Dallas event, we got to be careful with that.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. That settles that. So we'll get back to you, Jared. We'll get back to you right away with the date. That's going to be great.
Hey, Jamil, you want to answer this question real quick?
Yeah. So tomorrow night at Boxcar, 6 p.m. in Atlanta, Pace and I will be doing Pace and Jamil Do America. Essentially, we're going to talk about collaboration and how you guys can collaborate with each other to do more deals, to fill out or fill in any gaps in knowledge or any gaps in skill that you may have by leveraging your brothers and sisters in this business to make sure that whatever it is that you don't bring to the table, you can have someone else bring and you guys can all eat together. Tomorrow is going to be an amazing time, guys. Wednesday will be an amazing time. You will meet and network with a lot of people in the business. Pace and I will be there in the flesh, so you'll get to meet with us. And we'll connect you with the Keegley franchise that can help you get the most money for your deals. So it'll be a good time.
Couple questions. Shayla Davis points something out. He says, how do I pose a question? I can only see myself here in the comments. So Shayla and anybody else that's in one of the multiple streams that we have nearly 400 people watching Wholesale Hotline tonight. You might be in a YouTube on Brent Daniels that has 100 people. You might be on my YouTube that has 100 people. You might be in one of the Facebook groups that has 20 people or 12 people or whatever it is, but they add up to nearly 400 people. So we see all the comments. Jamil can see them, Brent can see them, and I can see them. So if you have a really burning question that we don't get to, just ask it a few times. We typically get to those. So guys, make sure you're asking questions. We see everything. I promise. It doesn't matter if you're in one of those streams that even has 2 or 3 people watching and you're not in one of the streams that has 100, like Brent Daniels probably has 150 to 180 people watching on his YouTube. We see them all, okay? Kyle, good question. Foreclosures coming or not? I sure hope so. I hate to say that from a business standpoint, but for me and my students that are using creative finance, and like Jimmy Al, one of my students, wholesaled a no equity, no cash flowing deal in Dallas last week and made $13,000 on a no equity, no cash flowing creative finance deal, assigning it. So foreclosures and people's inability to get mortgages if we have a market alteration, I feel super confident utilizing creative finance. So I hope and I hope and pray that there's opportunities, because when something bad happens to other people, there's usually other people that benefit from it. I'm not hoping that those people are in bad situations, but I do believe that we need a little bit of a pressure relief on all these foreclosures that are happening. And the conversation that Jamil and I have been having is that we think that the banks are primarily going to be doing a lot of loan modifications, but there's still a loan modification doesn't solve somebody's problem that hasn't had a job for the last 9 months because of COVID. So those people still need to sell their house. They still need, even if they do a loan modification, they still need to sell their house and move on to maybe a rental because they haven't had income for a while or whatever. So I think that it's not going to be anywhere near as bad of what people are talking about on YouTube and these market crashes and the whole world's falling apart and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that there's going to be some tremendous opportunity in 2021 as far as foreclosures are concerned. What do you guys think?
I think that's fair. I think that's fair pace. I think there's going to be this, the same, if not a slightly increased opportunity in the foreclosure arena. You know, but what you do and what you do in creative finance is beautiful because you don't strictly rely on foreclosures to get these deals under contract. You guys, you're actually able to go in and solve situations for sellers and get deals under contract. I mean, the one that you're buying today in Atlanta, I don't imagine that house is in foreclosure. It's a $1.2 million house, right? And so that one's just a situation where, and again, Pace, you and I didn't talk about what the seller was going through, but I believe that's just a creative deal, right? There's no foreclosure or pain in that situation.
You're talking about the one in Ansley Park right here?
Yes.
That seller, her name is Jillian. She's very well off, but her husband passed away and she needs a chunk of money.
Yeah.
And so my down payment is helping her with that. So her attorney actually sent me an edit to the contract. You and I are going to go visit the property on Wednesday. And she doesn't have tremendous financial pain. She actually is probably worth $10 million, but she's not liquid. And so she needs some liquid cash. And so a seller finance situation really worked for her. So that house, it's worth on Zillow, it's worth 1.175. I'm paying $1,025,000, but I'm putting very little down compared to what I would. Like if I had to go get a jumbo loan, how much money would I have to put down on a loan? You have any idea?
On that one, you'd be putting down 300 grand or more.
Yeah.
Right, 300 grand. So I'm not even putting a third of that down, right? And I'm going to turn into an Airbnb. And so you and I had an interesting conversation where you said, well, what are your thoughts on if the market crashes and you're holding $1 million property? And my answer was, well, I didn't buy the property based on equity. I bought on its ability to cash flow because in my opinion, equity comes and equity goes. And as long as I have cash flow, like look at Maricopa County and the other multiple states that I buy rentals in. Maricopa County has not seen a dip in rental income in over 50 years, even in 2008, even in 2001, even in 1983. In all these market corrections, rental rates actually go up. COVID, rental rates are freaking through the roof right now. Right. And it's for different reasons. But utilizing creative finance, you don't have to worry about the equity piece anywhere near as much as you can on wholesale. And you can still wholesale those deals and make $13,000, $20,000, $25,000 on a no equity deal to somebody who can't get a mortgage, right? So, but yeah, sorry I cut you off. The answer is yes, the seller had a different set of problems than what you would normally guess with like a wholesale seller.
Well, let me ask you this, guys, and I just have no idea. People are getting unemployment right now,
yes,
right? Until the end of the year. Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
that's what all these guys, all the videos. I don't watch the doom and gloom stuff. So they're saying once unemployment runs out, there's not going to be people getting checks, and there's
there's a couple of things they're talking about. Number one, unemployment. Number two, there's 6% of people that aren't paying their mortgages right now, but there's a lot more people that aren't paying their rent. And so what's happening is so 6% of people aren't paying their mortgages, but there's a lot of landlords like me that are paying mortgages even though they're not receiving rents. And if the government continues to extend foreclosures and do all these other things, it's going to get worse and worse and worse to the point where people are just like, F this, I can't afford this, I can't make payments. And the 6% is going to go up to like 12%.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean that values drop, right? I don't think it does. Because you're talking about a segment of the population that already has money, right? Landlords, for the most part, aren't broke.
No,
right?
no, I'm just talking general economy here. So 6%. What's the average? 3? What's the average of people that don't pay mortgages? 2?
Around 2 to 3%. Half of that.
We're double at this point.
Yeah.
Do we know what it was in 08, 09?
I know the unemployment numbers from 08 were 11 million, and the unemployment right now is 12.9 million. So it's almost 13 million people. So that's another indicator that people are talking about is how, during that time, even though people were unemployed, there was still a lot of business going on. What's happening right now is not only do we have unemployment, but we have all these businesses that are shutting down that won't ever have employees come back. So the recovery is going to be a longer burn. Now, I'm not a doom and gloom guy at all. I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I'm not the guy that's saying, watch the market crash and blah, 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 blah. I simply think that there's a lot more opportunities coming for wholesalers, fix and flippers, creative finance buyers in 2021 and 2022. I think the price of real estate will be higher in 2023 than it is in 2020. So our market's not going to crash, but there's going to be a tremendous amount more opportunities for people who are in the business to take advantage. More fix and flip, more affordable housing is going to be a major thing in 2021 and 2022. And what do I mean by affordable housing is if in Arizona, our average purchase price is $400,000, Denver, it's $600,000, right? So look at your median household price. My average exit on a fix and flip is about $100,000 below the median household price in Phoenix. So when I do a fix and flip, my team is exiting on that deal at $300,000 or lower. Why? Because we know that affordable housing is the number one thing to solve in 2021 and 2022. So focus on those numbers. If you guys are fix and flippers, focus on that market. If you're a wholesaler, because those opportunities are going to be so hot in 2021 and 2022.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing right now. You guys, Jamil, you guys don't do a lot of wholesale on $500,000, $600,000 homes in Phoenix, right?
We don't. But at the same time, you see a lot of it going on in LA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have somebody actually asking in the comments here. It's a great segue to the question, Thomas Bennett's question. For markets where the average price is over 400 or 450K, how does he find his MAO? So Thomas, I'll get to that. But in areas like that, like in Los Angeles, the average single family house is over $700,000. Right, you're pushing 800K, and I mean a house in Compton right now is 650, 700K, right? So that that in areas like that there's still opportunity and people are still going to be buying. I think it's just market specific. Now, with respect to those areas, like what Thomas had asked here, how do you know how to calculate your MAO? So I calculate MAO a little different, I think, than Brent does, and maybe even Pace. I don't go out there and say, hey, I'm gonna say this renovation is gonna cost me $50,000 or $60,000, and then subtract my desired wholesale fee, and then come up with an offer, because I believe if I run that equation, I will be not doing enough deals. And because I run a more JV model, where I'm helping disposition other people's deals, our average assignment fee is around 10 grand. So what I do, Thomas, is I like to find a flat percentage of ARV for specific markets. So if you have an area, Thomas, that you're working in and you want to know what percentage of ARV, I'll tell you, I think you should be locking your deals up in, write that in the comments and then I'll respond with that.
Can I answer this question real quick for Rini? She says, in the scenario Pace you just mentioned, there is no equity and no cash flow. What is the next reason to make it assignable? What's the incentive? So Rini, I know you're a real estate agent, so you probably primarily deal with people who are qualified to buy a house. Let's talk about this. Before COVID, 100 people walk into a bank. 60 of those 100 are walking out with an approved mortgage. What are the other 40 people that don't have a long enough job, history? They don't have a big enough down payment. Their credit is a little bit skewed. Maybe they don't have enough income or whatever it is. What happens to the other 40%? Well, they go rent properties or they get sent to a credit repair company, right? A lot of these people have the down payment. They just don't have long enough job history. Primarily real estate agents, right? 1099, people that are on 1099. Now, after COVID, that number is not 40% anymore. It's now at 55% of people are not approved for mortgages. People that are qualified buyers, they have down payments. They might have just had a divorce and they lost one of their incomes, or maybe they had a job switch and now they have a new job history they have to accumulate. You know this dealing with your lenders is that your lenders want 2 years of job history. What subject to and seller finance does is it destroys all of that crap. I just bought $1 million property in downtown Atlanta. Nobody checked my bank records. Nobody checked my job history. Nobody checked my credit. Nobody even saw whether I've even filed my taxes or not. And I just bought $1 million property without any of that stuff. So you tell me, the 55% of people right now that are not qualified for a mortgage and their lender is telling them, go get your credit fixed at this credit repair company. If I came along and said, dude, let me just assign this 3.5% interest rate home to you in Dallas. You just pay me an assignment fee for $13,000. You don't have to go through a lender. You don't have to go through job verification. You don't have to give your firstborn and give them your blood type. And then 2 weeks right before you're about to close escrow, they ask for 18 more things. There is so many incentives of doing creative finance that I honestly wonder why anybody gets mortgages.
Right.
I am so repulsed by going through. I'm going through the BRRRR strategy right now on one of my properties. I am blown away that people have the patience to go through a lender. So that's the incentives. There are 55% of families right now that can't get qualified for mortgages. And if you understand sub-2 seller finance, lease options, novation agreements, all that kind of stuff, you will supply families with houses that are actual good quality buyers, but there's not institutional lenders to supply a product to allow them to move into a home. That's the incentive. Love it.
It's the classic people have money, but they don't have credit, or people have money, but they don't have the work history, or people have money, but they just started a business a year ago and don't have, you know what I mean?
Speaking of squatting up, Brent Daniels and I just did a deal together at the beginning part of this year on Pueblo. Okay.
Yep.
So his students come in on Fridays, which they always do. It's TTP Fridays over at the TTP office.
Oh yeah.
I stopped by, link in with a couple of his students. His acquisition manager at the time, Eric, walks into me, goes, Pace, I've got a no equity deal. I know you like these things. Do you want it? I go, yes. I end up buying that deal. I met the seller, signed it in front of your TTP students that day.
Mm-hmm.
I paid you guys an assignment fee. I took that and I sold that on a wrap. And if you guys want to know what wraps are, if you don't know what they are, Sunday service is all about what wraps are. But I sold this to an end buyer. Okay. This guy gave me $17,000 up front. He has absolutely amazing credit. He has amazing P&Ls. Why would he not want to just go get a loan? I ended up selling it to him on a wrap. Why did he not go get a loan? Is because he has a judgment from his ex-wife and she has a credit watch on him. So anytime he pulls his credit, it releases a notification to her. So legitimately, he bought this house from me at 8.5% interest. My wife is the one that dealt with him, by the way. So he came to us with enough down payment, but he had great credit. He's like, I just don't want you to pull it because somebody will get notified. He's doing a remodel on the house, which is freaking amazing. So guys, there are so many buyers out there. Number one, Brent Daniels and I squatted up, made money together. We are not competition. We are collaborators. We are brothers. So that's real, true blue collaboration.
Yep.
And then second, case in point, he wholesaled the deal to me, and then I sold it to a buyer who actually has good credit, but just didn't want his credit pulled and didn't want to go through a traditional lender because he didn't want his ex-wife to find out he was buying a house. The list of reasons why people buy on creative finance is endless. And until you get into that world, you don't realize it, and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. George says, BRRRR method, just heard from my partner that we won't be able to refi under our LLC. Is this true? Said it needs to be under our personal names. Yes.
Does your LLC have credit history?
Yeah, you have to have credit history. This is why the method is not the most fun. It's challenging, and it's not an easy method to go through. This is why wholesale is the holy grail of getting into real estate, is focus on the wholesale and then implement and sprinkle creative finance throughout your business and forget about the BRRRR strategy. Throw that stuff in the trash.
And when Pace says find wholesale deals, it's just that. We find deals. That's all it is. Once you're able to source opportunities, you win. And then you're going to start seeing all these opportunities. You start adding to your library or your encyclopedia of knowing what to do. By the way, real quick, to switch tracks real quick, Pace, have you broken down have you put together that chart of what to do based on equity and condition and motivation, all that? You know what I mean? Is that still coming?
Yes.
So Pace is putting together something unbelievable that based on whatever situation you are presented with, there is a solution for you to get paid on any deal. On any single deal, there is
it's actually finished. It's called the decision tree. And so it's not publicly available until I put it on a website, but it's done, and I've been letting my sub 2 students use it for the last month, but it is unbelievable. Every scenario that you run into real estate, every single one, whether it's equity, no equity, a lien, no lien, whatever it is, the decision tree to ask you questions along the way and ultimately spits out the outcome and says, go do this. This is how you make money. And I need to make it publicly available to Wholesale Hotline.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
We'll trumpet that. No, it's just listen, learn how to source it, build up your experience, start with first finding deals that you can start bringing some income in with some wholesaling, start getting that bank account covering your expenses so that you can commit full time to this, and then start expanding and looking into creative ways to be able to put together these deals, because there's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be times where you just, there's certain deals in your pipeline that are just perfect for subject to, or perfect for creative financing, or perfect for wholesaling. I mean, there's so many different opportunities that you run across if you're talking to enough distressed property owners, and you can start catering, the best solution for that distressed property owner based on the different strategies that you have. It's awesome.
Let's see. Yeah, Mamadou says they have access to that as students. It's freaking awesome. Yeah, we call it the decision tree. So if you're in the sub 2 family and you don't know where to find it, tag Reagan in the community. Reagan Phillips will connect you with the decision tree. It tells you exactly how to handle every scenario ever.
We're getting a lot of questions on what markets Keegley's in, guys. If you guys want to know what markets Keegley is in, just send me a message on Instagram or email me at jamil@keegley.com, and I can direct you to the right spot.
So this is an interesting question, and this will be the last creative finance question I answer tonight. But guys, Sunday service is my podcast on Sundays, and I'm so long-winded. I've done Sunday service literally for 5 or 6 hours. I purposely try not to answer creative finance questions on this podcast because it gets super long. King Edward says, when you take a house subject to and you sell it on a wrap, what do you do if the due on sale clause is called? I just had a student that did this exact thing, and we solved it in less than 24 hours. It's very simple. I'll give you a much longer answer on Sunday service, but just wanted to highlight that. Last night we didn't do Sunday service because I ate a nut and it messed up my whole night. So sorry about that. Kamal High says, can't burr, but closing on a seller finance, sir. So I hate the burr so much that I came up with an acronym called either seller finance, rent, repeat, or subject to rehab, rent, repeat. So Kamal High is one of my students, says, can't burr, but closing on a seller finance, sir, next week that we will cash flow $800 on, and is a legal Airbnb with potential $2,000 on the beach in Hawaii. Pace, thank you for the knowledge. Guys, screw the burr. Go for the sir.
And just wanted to also remind you guys, if you are getting value from what we do here on Wholesale Hotline, do us a favor and share this. Like it, tag a friend, share this in your Instagram story. We want to grow the network, and we are actually one of the fastest growing real estate podcasts and shows out there, and that's thanks to you guys, and it's just amazing, all the new folks that I'm sure we're going to meet so many new people pace in Atlanta on Wednesday that we haven't met in the past. And you and I come out here a lot, but Wholesale Hotline has been a phenomenal experience for us to be a part of. And that happens from you guys sharing it. So remember, guys, like it, share it. We do this for free. we do this for you. We truly do. And it means a lot to us when you guys pay it forward and help other people learn about this as well.
Let me say something. We'll let Brent take us home. Anybody that's in Arizona, you are more than welcome to stop by my Phoenix or at my Tempe office. We constantly have meetups. My partner, Matt Beard, goes live every Friday morning, and he shows people how to do this business by driving for dollars, calling sellers, etc. I want to know, before I sign off, I want to see in the comments, and I'm going to shut up right after I ask you guys this question. Have you guys been watching the warm-up show that we are doing 30 minutes before the show, where we are highlighting new investors getting their first, second, or third deal utilizing what we're talking about on this show? Last week, we had Ricky Morgan, who lives in Arizona and wholesales and fix and flips in freaking Jersey, which is cool. And then today we had Justice Sotto from Orlando, who got his first 3 deals. And I interviewed these beginners or new investors to the realm for the first 30 minutes before Wholesale Hotline. Are you guys getting value out of that? And if so, what would you guys like to see more of in the coming weeks, so that I know I should continue to do the warm-up show before Brent Daniels and Jamil Damji show up? I appreciate you guys all. And anybody that we're going to see on Wednesday night, really looking forward to it. Brent, why don't you take us home, brother?
If you have never, ever taken action in your real estate business, maybe you've been all internal. It's been all internal. It's been all in your mind. You've been reading the books. You've been watching this. You've been watching YouTube. You've been listening to podcasts. You are convinced. You're making the decision to get into this business and make this a big part of your life, a big part of your family's life, a big part of your financial future, and you haven't taken any action. No action at all. I don't care if you're 13, like what somebody posted on here, or you're 73. All I want you to do tomorrow is find one property, one rundown, one beat up property, and call the owner or knock on the door. That's it. Just call the owner or knock on the door. The app that Pace is talking about you can skip trace right there, right? Batch driven, right? You can skip trace right there. You can literally, any property in your whole city, you can go and you can hit that and you can call them. Just do one. Just do one and build on that and build on that and build on that. Let it be the spark that gets you down the road to where 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months from now, you're hosting your own local podcast. You're getting 8 to 10 deals a month in from referrals. You're connecting hard money people with title agents, with attorneys, with probate, with everything. And you're the connector in your market, but it starts with the single call. It starts with the single door knock. You have the tools. You've got the information. You've got the game plan. It's just about turning it on and doing it. And that's it. That's all I want you to do. That's it. That's the price of admission for the 41st Wholesale Hotline show, is just go out there and do it and share your experience with us next week. All right? Good?
Thank you, guys. We will see you next week on Wholesale Hotline number 42. Do we have a special guest next week? I can't remember.
We do.
Who is it?
Is it yours or mine?
He's yours.
Jasmine Gittins. Jasmine. She is phenomenal. She's done 100 deals. She is incredible. You guys are going to love her. Anyway, Jasmine.
Guys, please like, comment, and share Wholesale Hotline. We love getting a little bit of honey every single week by you guys taking a photo and tagging us on Instagram. It lets us know that we're doing a good job. I do work for compliments. I can tell you that much right now. So please tag us on Instagram. We do love it. We do see all of those things, and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next week on Wholesale Hotline number 42, Jasmine as the special guest.
That's right.
Have a good
You
night,
guys,
guys.
love you so much. See ya.